If Injustice 3 ever becomes a reality, it must not just continue the legacy of its predecessors, it must elevate it. NetherRealm Studios' brand is bloody fighting games, though in 2013 it toned down the violence a tad for Injustice: Gods Among Us. Based on the title, it may not have even been totally clear to Mortal Kombat fans that it was a fighting game, starring DC Comics heroes and villains like Batman, Wonder Woman, and the Joker. But Injustice was a hit for the studio and spawned a sequel in 2017 that expanded the weird and wild world while offering the same knuckle-busting gameplay. Unfortunately, outside of a tie-in comic and an animated film adaptation, the series has been dormant ever since. Despite the series' strong sales and high review scores, NetherRealm hasn't delivered a sequel, instead focusing on its Mortal Kombat franchise. While we can certainly hope the studio's next game is Injustice 3, and there are murmurs that it might be, NetherRealm hasn't given any indication as to what it's developing next. If an Injustice 3 were to be announced, there are some key changes and additions, in my humble opinion, that NetherRealm could make to elevate the franchise. For your and NetherRealm's consideration, make sure Injustice 3's DLC characters aren't one-offs. The first two Injustice games had expansive rosters, but there are plenty more heroes and villains from the DC Universe NetherRealm could bring in for a potential threequel. First, however, some of the DLC fighters need to be brought back and be used for storytelling purposes. Characters like Batgirl, Martian Manhunter, and Zatanna were great additions in the first game, but were nowhere to be found in the second. Similarly, Black Manta, Starfire, and Enchantress offered great character variety in the second game, and we can only hope they return if the series continues. Injustice: Gods Among Us had 24 characters for its base roster, while Injustice 2 had 28, and the DLC additions pushed its roster to almost 40. Unfortunately, outside of a tie-in comic and animated film adaptation, the series has been dormant ever since. Despite the series' strong sales and high review scores, NetherRealm hasn't delivered a sequel, instead focusing on its Mortal Kombat franchise. What? NetherRealm has demonstrated time and again it can deliver plenty of unique heroes for each of its games. So I have no doubt that if Injustice 3's base roster were to include 30+ heroes, they'd all feel unique and justified. Personally, I'm hoping for more Teen Titans. Add these characters to Injustice 3 Lightning Round? Batman Beyond Batman, because a little nostalgia for O's cartoons never hurts. Batwoman. Just about everyone else in the Bat family has made it. Why not Kate Kane? Beast Boy. Fans have long wanted Beast Boy in the series, and for good reason. His shape-shifting powers have the potential for the most unique moveset of any fighter. John Constantine plays a huge role in the original Injustice comics, but has yet to be playable in the games. Kilowog, the more Green Lanterns, the better. King Shark, scene stealer in everything he appears in, whether we're talking the Suicide Squad or Harley Quinn. Mr. Miracle, everyone's favorite depressed hero before Bob from Thunderbolts came along. Naomi, probably Brian Michael Bendis' best addition to the DC universe. It's time Naomi got to kick some butt in a game. Ra's al Ghul, Batman's father-in-law, deserves to duel his son-in-law shirtless, just like in the animated show. Peacemaker, he's already in Mortal Kombat 1, so just bring his peace-loving ass over. Static, how did Static join the mobile game before the real game? Terra, one of the most influential Teen Titans, can be Injustice's version of Mortal Kombat's Tremor. Go back to comic-accurate suits. Injustice 2 swapped out alternate costumes for gear. Instead of adorning Batman in his Red Sun costume or Nightwing in his new 52 digs, you'd instead equip various pieces of gear to each character. You could also add different shaders, giving each character wildly different color schemes than they were traditionally known for, like a purple Superman or gold Green Lantern. Each character ultimately ended up with a similar, armored-up aesthetic. Gone were the unique, comic-accurate skins. Personally, I wasn't a fan of Injustice 2's gear system. Even aside from the aesthetics, it introduced a tedious item management system to the game, full of stats, transmog options, and of course, microtransactions. Instead, I prefer Injustice 3 to go back to a focus on alternate costumes inspired by comics, movies, and everything else. There have been plenty of new costumes for each hero introduced since the games dropped, meaning the possibilities for alternate skins in a new game would be quite substantial. Add premium skins for more character variety. Premium skins from both games need to return, and I'd love for even more to be included. Premium skins would change the appearance and voice of a character while retaining its moveset. For example, equipping the Reverse Flash costume for Flash would turn the character into his arch nemesis, but play the same as the hero you know and love. Characters like the Flash and Green Lantern are ripe for premium skins, so players could fight as Wally West or Simon Baz without entirely new characters needing to be made. And could you imagine playing as 2022's The Batman's version of the character with voice work by Robert Pattinson? Or as David Cornsweat's Superman? Oh, let's speak it into existence. Take advantage of DC Comics' multiversal characters and stories. The first Injustice game was a light multiverse story with characters from just 2 worlds. How quaint. Injustice 2 stuck to one parallel world. I mean, with the explosion in multiverse stories, who wouldn't want to see hundreds of versions of characters? Is NetherRealm going to create a plethora of new heroes? Probably not, but it's amusing to think about. Maybe he'll draw inspiration from Dark Knight's metal, or even bring in Watchmen characters because crossovers never get old, right? To see how they interpret Rorschach, Ozymandias, and Dr. Manhattan, such potential for groundbreaking storytelling. Could they shake things up with Mortal Kombat versus Injustice? The title's just sitting right there. What an original concept. But really, who knows what they're cooking up at NetherRealm? Perhaps a third Injustice isn't dead in the water. Can't wait for Warner Brothers' big cohesive storytelling universe across films, TV series, and games. Surely that will only end well. Bravo!
After 8 hours inside Marathon, Bungie's long-hyped extraction shooter, I walked away with one dominant feeling. This is not the future of PvPvE shooters, but it's not a doomed experiment either. Marathon is polished, it's distinctive, it has the Bungie gunplay we've come to love, and it certainly doesn't deserve to be lumped in with the growing pile of live service corpses. But is it the next big thing? No, it's something more complicated than that. It's the game in the middle lane, veering dangerously close to greatness, yet constantly second-guessing itself. It's not the next Helldivers 2, but thankfully, it's not Concord either. Let's get something out of the way first. Marathon feels incredible. Of course it does. Bungie practically invented modern FPS feel. The guns snap, punch, crack, and recoil with surgical precision. Everything from the sound design to the animation sells you on the fantasy of being a cybernetic runner scavenging the husk of a dead colony. You can dunk on Destiny 2 all day for its monetization, PvP neglect, or storytelling misfires, but no one, and I mean no one, questions the gunplay. and it's rock solid. But as with any extraction shooter, feeling good is just the beginning. The real question is, does it hook you? Does it keep you up at 2 a.m. whispering, just one more run? After 8 hours, my answer is, almost. I want to play more. I want to master its systems. But I also see the cracks already forming. And the biggest one? Its identity. Where Helldivers 2 had immediacy, chaos, and camaraderie baked into every moment, Marathon feels colder, slower, and more cerebral. Where Concord came off like a soulless Overwatch imitation made in a corporate vacuum, Marathon has ambition, lore, and world-building oozing from its sterile cyberpunk edges. Tau Ceti 4 feels like a real place, not just a backdrop. Bungie's experience in crafting mysterious universes with hidden depth is paying off. There's lore here, intrigue, mystery. You're not just looting for XP or cosmetics. You're clawing for meaning in a world that wants you dead. That matters. But here's the paradox. Marathon has soul, and yet it still feels sterile, clinical, disconnected. The visuals are breathtaking, saturated with Mirror's edge-like vibrancy. But emotionally, it's detached. The stakes never quite reach your gut. And in a genre like Extraction, where every second should be dripping with tension and dread, that's a problem. Gameplay-wise, Marathon has a clear identity. It's not a Tarkos clone. It's not Warzone with loot. It's tried to be Destiny meets Escape from Tarkov. Faster, cleaner, less punishing, but still high risk, high reward. 3-player squads, no solos, medium-sized maps, PvPvA chaos, timed extractions. If you die, you lose your gear. If you extract, you keep it. Classic loop. But what sets Marathon apart is how pared down it all feels. The pace is deliberate, the UI is slick, and yet there's a flatness to the objectives. The alpha build locked us into what I'd call the monitor mission loop. Find monitors, tag them, trigger drops, grab loot, repeat. And while PvP adds spice, the ever-present fear of wipeout, the PvE side, weak, flat. Robots are smart and deadly, yes, but hunting monitors for 100 hours, that's not a loop that sings. Helldivers 2 dropped us into hell with bugs, bullets, and betrayals. Marathon drops us into a Google server room and asks us to speedrun tech support. That's not to say it's all bland. The characters, or runners, have personality. Blackbird, my favorite, can scan enemies and deploy spider bots. Glitch zooms around like a punked-up ninja with energy boosts. Locus is your tank, your wall. Void is the stealthy emo rogue with cloaks and smokes. These archetypes feel snappy, and their ultimates and abilities can swing fights hard. But again, after 8 hours, I wonder, is it enough? Let's talk maps. 3 available now. Perimeter, Dire Marsh, and Outpost, a forthcoming post-launch set on the Marathon ship with raid-like mechanics. Bungie says they aren't aiming for 20 maps. That's fine. Tight map pools encourage mastery, but even in just 1 day of playing Dire Marsh, the biggest map, didn't feel all that big. You're always a few clicks from a gunfight. That's intentional. Bungie wants the pressure. But how long before these maps feel claustrophobic? Destiny spent years neglecting PvP maps. If that culture seeps into Marathon, it'll rot from the inside. But not everything is doom and gloom. One of the most brilliant mechanics? The contract system. These are field objectives: kill X, collect Y, survive Z, that award you with semi-permanent upgrades and inventory expansions. Grenades, shields, backpacks. It's the kind of progression that extraction shooters desperately need. Something to make the pain of death feel less like a full reset. Sure, Bungie says seasonal resets will wipe the stuff. That scares me. But in the moment-to-moment gameplay, contracts keep you focused, motivated. Another win? The black market. A half-crafting, half-shop economy where you slowly unlock your minimum loadout, meaning no matter how bad your last run was, you're not going in with just a butter knife and good vibes. That's smart. It reduces the sheer brutality of Tarkov-style wipeouts while preserving tension. You still don't want to die, but you're not destitute if you do. Now, about that loot. Surprisingly, guns aren't everything here. Better gear matters. Shields, healing, grenades. But gunpowder is horizontal, not vertical. A white rarity pistol can still get the job done with skill and map awareness. In other words, you don't need a god roll exotic to win a fight. You need brains, positioning, and the right timing. That philosophy aligns with the best extraction shooters, skill over loot. Bungie gets that. The gunplay is exceptional. That's a given. But gun feedback, flinch, hit reactions, recoil weight feels slightly less meaty than Destiny. Still, no weapon I used felt bad. And that's saying a lot. The sniper rifles crack, the SMGs shred. While shotguns blast, you won't find duds. So, where does all this leave us? Marathon is a paradox. It's gorgeous, but emotionally distant. It's mechanically tight, but thin on objectives. It's rich in lore, but slow to reveal it. It's brutally punishing, yet smarter than most in softening the blow. It's not the future of extraction shooters, but it's not an empty cache-in either. It's the foundation for something better. If Bungie builds on this, listens to feedback, injects variety, and leans hard into the mystery and world building, it could find a niche. Not Helldivers' 2-level breakout, not Fortnite, but something stable, loyal, and fascinating, like a cyberpunk cousin of the Cycle Frontier or a grown-up version of Destiny's Gambit mode, reimagined through survival horror. But if they coast, if they treat this like Destiny PvP, if seasons come and go with minimal change, then Marathon won't collapse. It'll just slowly sink. Not a spectacular crash, but a long, quiet fade into irrelevance. So no, Marathon isn't a revolution, but it's a whisper of one.